Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Gavel. I am Benny Ark. During the initial plenary session of the week in the Senate, the focal points revolved around the nation's economic conditions and methods to close gaps within the system. Let's take a look at the report.
The economic situation in the country and ways to plug loopholes in the system were predominant on the agenda of the first plenary session of the week in the Senate. Among other bills up for amendment was the CBN Act of 2007, sponsored by 41 members of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions. The bill seeks to review the tenure of the Apex Bank's governor and fix the recapitalization of banks at 1 trillion naira.
The tenure of the governor of the central bank. I don't know why the mover is suggesting 6 years. I'm even thinking that 5 years is enough.
There is no coordination between the managers of our fiscal and monetary policies. The monetary policy and the fiscal policy, if they don't go together, there will be an issue. So I think the 5-year period is germane.
The temporary advances which the bank regularly gives to the federal government, the existing act says 5%, but this bill is proposing 10%. This is another area I want the mover of this amendment to look into.
I think for a very long time, we have not seen the CBN bringing their budget. We do not understand it. We have not seen it, and nobody seems to provide any information year in, year out. It begins to tell Nigerians that the CBN is bigger than the government, that the CBN is bigger than the National Assembly. And I'm sure this provision is apt, is making sure that CBN are responsible and accountable to everything they do for and on behalf of the citizens of this country.
The food crisis in the country was next. In a motion, Senator Ali Ndume argued the need to introduce food stamps in the country.
Food stamp, which is a government-issued coupon that is given to low-income and non-income person and is redeemable for food, have been used since 1939, not actually 1933. Since 1939 to date.
Another motion on the alleged corruption and inefficiency of the Ajokuta Steel Company was debated as the Senate resolved to carry out an investigation.
The Senate is alarmed that Nigeria currently spends about $3.3 billion annually on steel imports, and quite saddened that the nation blessed with abundant natural ore resources, yet plagued with moribund Ajakuta and Delta Steel, have become conduit pipes for diversion of public funds at the expense of Nigerian taxpayers.
So much money has been invested there, we have not seen result. That in itself calls for investigation. Like my chairman finance committee said, the 9th Senate, we had problems with them. Okay, we had problems with them. But I also want us to know that Ajokuta Steel is not completely dormant as it is today. They are working on a very skeletal note. But whether you like it or not, so much money has been invested there, we have not seen result. That in itself calls for investigation.
Mr. President, the problem here is not with investigations. The problem is how do we make government act on these resolutions? In 2018, when we were in the House, there was a very far-reaching investigation and resolution thereof. Nothing has been done to date.
A bill seeking to amend the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC Act to make provision for the inclusion of Anambra State as one of the member states was brought before the Senate on Tuesday.
Anambra State contributes a sizable number in the revenue that is accruable to this country. So this bill seeks to formalize that Anambra State will be the 10th state as one of the states in NDDC, Niger Delta Development State.
Immediately, the debate became polarized.
I think they deserve to be treated just like any other state that is an oil-producing state. The immediate benefit of this is that they will be entitled to a commissioner on the board of Niger Delta Commission.
It will mean that now that oil has been reported to have been found in Gombe State in the northeast will now be said to be a member of the NDDC state, so that we don't make nonsense of this commission. The UNPADEC that was initially repealed to give back to this NDDC, we have to bring it back. We have to bring it back so that all the oil-producing states can be recognized, and all of this can be in one document.
The president of the Senate sought to douse tensions.
Please, will you want to step it down for further consultations, or do you want us to put a question? Those who are in support of the argument that this bill be now read a second time, to go for second reading, say aye. Those against say nay. The next have it.
Meanwhile, a bill for an act to establish a national center for the coordination and control of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria was passed in the upper chamber. In the meantime, the Senate has confirmed the removal of Mr. Babatunde Irukera as the Executive Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC. Also within the week, the Senate harped on the need to uphold strict compliance to the federal character principle in the recruitment of constables into the Nigerian police force.
Concerned that the recruitment on the state basis as against local government areas, as initially contemplated and adopted, will lead to disproportionate and lopsided recruitment.
Direct the Police Service Commission to, in conjunction with the Nigerian Police Force, to recruit a minimum of 10 candidates from each of the 774 local government councils in Nigeria. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Senate also confirmed 4 out of 5 nominees as members of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank.
That the Senate do confirm the nomination of all the underlisted as members of the Board of Directors for the Central Bank, as members of the Board of Directors of Central Bank. 1, Mr. Robert Agbede. 2, Mr. Ado Yakubu Wanka. 3, Professor Muritala Sabo Sagagi. 4, Mrs. Muslimat Olanike Aliyu, as all as directors.
Senator Ojikalu explained that the nominee who wasn't confirmed and who's a member of his constituency declined the appointment because of an existing portfolio with the World Bank.
Lawmakers in the House of Representatives during the week urged the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria to reconsider implementing the revised guidelines for verification. Here is the report.
Lawmakers in the House of Representatives on Tuesday urged the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria not to implement the revised guidelines for verification. The House's decision was sequel to the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance by Honorable Patrick Umor, acknowledging the concerns, protest and stiff opposition to the implementation of the revised guidelines by the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
Worried that the requirement that applicants for verification must obtain a letter of good standing from the Chief Executive Officer of applicant's place of work is capable of creating forced labor and modern slavery, as applicants will be forced to be subject to the whims and caprices of an applicant's employer.
Meanwhile, lawmakers want some national matters urgently addressed, one of which is the United Nations report, which indicates the presence of terrorist cells in Katsina State. The report, which was released in January, provides details on the numerical strength and leadership of the cells.
The House resolved to urge the relevant security agencies to take advantage of the intelligence to combat banditry attacks in Katsina State and take stiffer measures to ensure the safety of lives and property in the affected communities. Also urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to intervene and assist the victims to alleviate the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the affected areas.
In a related development, following the discontent from citizens across the country, lawmakers are pushing for a national reconciliation and integration process to foster unity amongst Nigerians.
The House agreed that reconciliation fosters a sense of common identity, reducing tensions and promoting social cohesion. National integration ensures political stability and it minimizes the risk of ethnic or regional conflict.
Meanwhile, the House has passed a resolution to investigate the funds disbursed to the licensed electricity distribution companies by the central bank as loans under the National Mass Metering Program.
The House resolves to urge the federal government to prioritize the implementation of the Power Sector Recovery Program, which provides a roadmap for sustainable power sector reforms. 2. Urge the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to provide a detailed report on the implementation of the National Mass Metering Program, NDDC, including the number of loans disbursed, the amounts disbursed, and the status of the loans to the Committee on Banking and Regulation.
In the meantime, the House is asking the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board to extend the deadline for the exam registration by 2 weeks due to the economic situation in the country. And as the President directs the full implementation of the 2012 Orasanye report, the House is urging President Bola Tinubu to comprehensively review the 2012 Orasanye report along with the Goni Aji report, which reviewed the Orasanye report, the white paper released by the President Jonathan administration, the Amapepu white paper, and the Ebele Okeke white paper in line with current realities.
Some people labor for independence of our nation as far back 1957 to 1960. We are enjoying it today. Some people labor for democracy of this country. We are enjoying it today. What Nigeria is experiencing today, sincerely speaking, it is a necessary sacrifice we have to make. It's a necessary sacrifice for all of us. I'm telling you that yes, Nigeria will be great, will be better, but we need to do some things.
Mr. Speaker,
A member, Mr. Billy Osawuru, moves a motion on the frequency of the collapse of the national grid, which has forced businesses to invest in alternate power sources, thereby raising operational costs and leaving end users with exorbitant prices.
the House recalls that the nation is currently facing its worst form of insecurity, including insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and other violent crimes. The collapse of the national grid will embolden criminal activities and security facilities such as the Vigiscope app, the Police Situation Room app. All police command control rooms can be compromised during the dark hours.
Following another motion by Mr. Taufik Ajilesoro, the House also mandated its Committee on Digital and Information Technology to liaise with the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, the National Broadcasting Commission, and other relevant agencies to investigate the agreement between government and Star Times to fast-track the complete digitalization of the Nigerian broadcasting industry and report back within 4 weeks.
The House is concerned that despite other African nations such as Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Gabon, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Rwanda, Kenya, etc., having finished the transitioning process, the digital switchover program in Nigeria broadcasting industry has stagnated or slowed down, in spite of being almost 10 years in the process. Nigeria, with the biggest economy, still lacks strong foundation for this shift. The House will acknowledge that there was an agreement reached with Star Times for the utilization of their facilities spread across the country to fast-track the implementation of the process.
Also, the House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Disabilities to probe the compliance level of ministries, departments, and agencies of government to the Disability Act. This resolution followed the adoption of a motion by the member representing Surulere 2 Federal Constituency of Lagos State.
Disturbed that if discrimination against persons with disability Prohibition Act is not fully implemented, the challenges faced by persons with disability will persist and the socio-economic development of Nigeria will remain impaired. The House resolved that to mandate the Committee on Disability to investigate the compliance level of the ministries, departments, and agencies of government to the Disability Act 2028,
2018, sorry.
After nearly a week since its creation, the Senate Committee on Constitution Amendment held its first sitting. This important meeting signifies the committee's beginning of its responsibility to examine and suggest revisions to the country's constitution. Let's check out the report. Almost a week after its inauguration, the Senate Committee on Constitution Amendment held its first sitting.
As being suggested,
members of the committee identified issues that the committee should consider in the review process.
The way we did the last one, you can see that out of almost all the bills, it's not up to half that was assented to. So this time around, why don't we try as much as possible to prioritize them? After prioritizing them, we take the ones that we know are very critical, like issues of the state police, like the evolution of our areas that we feel will have direct impact on our constitutional setup.
We always waste so much time until the end of the session. And by the time we now compile everything and take to Mr. President for assent, it's too late. And if he says that he will not assent to certain parts of the bills, then we end up not being able to do anything again about it.
The committee chairman explained the readiness of the committee to deliver on the expectations of Nigerians.
We will be very strategic in the conduct of our affairs. We will be guided by the laws and rules of legislative business, including precedents where it does not conflict with any known rule, while also being innovative where we can. The committee will strongly consult and engage critical stakeholders in a way that will ensure that bills passed by the National Assembly will be approved by the houses of our Assembly and assented to by Mr. President. It is important to note that the committee is not constituted to rewrite the 1999 Constitution. But if we have several amendments that can change the entire thing, so be it.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Benjamin Kalu, on Thursday said the first draft report of the ongoing review of the 1999 Constitution would be ready in August 2024. Kalu stated these at a press conference organized by the House Committee on Constitution Review on Thursday.
We are pushing to ensure that in our activities, that in no distance time, the first draft of the work we are trying to do on the Constitution will be ready. But this will be subject to the approval of the work done by the subcommittee. But let me mention that our target is that the first draft proposal of the Constitution will be out in August 2024, first draft. So our target is that transmission of bills to Mr. President for assent will take place August 2025. And with this, we are sure that our target to get this job tidied up in 24 months will be achieved if we send it to Mr. President by August of 2025. We are hoping that by December of 2025, we will have a constitution that is fully amended.
We interviewed Honorable Taufeeq Ajilisoro, representative for the Ife Central, East, North and South Federal Constituency in Osun State, on constituency focus. He outlines his plans for his constituents. Here is the interview.
In my first time, I facilitated a primary health care center, which was situated in Ife North, because I have 4 local governments, including area office. We facilitated the road. We facilitated the link bridge between 2 communities. All these things were done in my first time in office. Presently, I'm focusing on skill acquisition, capacity building for our youth. I just finished about 200 capacity building sponsored by NASENI to my constituents, in which they were trained for like 3 weeks, very intensive training, and they gave them equipment that they will be using for them to be able to do all these things on their own. Because that is what we need. Nigeria of nowadays, we just have to find a way of helping the youth. There are so many people who are not employed. So if we are able to do that, SOCON will be reaching the masses. And right now, I intend to do more. Right now, as a lawmaker, I can only facilitate. We intend to facilitate a lot of programs, especially in terms of capacity building for our youth. We just commissioned a road too, 1.5 kilometer road, dual carriage, water, all these things are facilitated. It is through the voice of where I am. I'm able to facilitate it through my office. And then we intend to do more. We just want government to look the side of the common Nigerians. My projection, and which I've already tried to build it up, my last constituency project was focused on capacity building. And then I want to try to facilitate to have a skill acquisition center whereby we don't need to be going out as they will be training people set by set. So if we are able to achieve that located in my constituency, we will having a set of people that will be trained, and then once they know the training, they are fully satisfied, they will empower them. All these people can go on their various way for them to be able to do it for themselves. Part of it is solar borehole training, solar panel training, tailoring training, carpentry, and so on like that. So we want to really trying to find a way to make sure we have this acquisition center in my constituency and some other programs. We have tried to do a lot of bill on decontamination center, bill on industrial training park, and so on. But then, yeah, you can do the training in terms of lawmaking, but at the same time, we have to ensure that we facilitate some projects that we really good for my constituency. Right now, I'm also talking to the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to give us fertilizer for our farm, because I'm representing an agrarian area where farming is a major work for a lot of constituents. So we'll facilitate a lot of tractors, fertilizer, so that people can go back to the farm. Because as we are right now, we need to have a lot of farm produce to bring relief to our people. Food is very essential. Food is very essential. It is when you feed, that is when you can function.
That concludes our program for this week. We would love to hear from you. Please send us an email at thegavel@channelstv.com. Thanks for watching. I am Benny Ark. Be well.